Portuguese American writers throughout the creation of this process and events. Finally, I would like to thank all those who helped create the wonderful atmosphere tonight. This would include Maria Valente from Portuguese restaurant Portugalia for providing the hors d'oeuvre, Brian Sove from the Iberian wine importers who supplied the authentic Portuguese wine, and lastly João Carreiro, the gentleman of the year, for organizing the music and the sound system for the event tonight. I will now pass the microphone over to Millicent and Amy Batista, the moderators for tonight's event. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you will have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. Can you guys hear me? Thank you all for coming, and special thanks to the Consulate General for hosting this event. I would like to begin with a quote from Fernando Pessoa. "Literature stimulates life. A novel is a story of what never was. A play is a novel without narration. A poem is the expression of ideas or feelings, a language no one uses, because no one talks in verse." Thank you for coming to Kale Soup for the Soul. It's a reading by Portuguese American writers about family, food, and culture. And so it happened. Last year, we had our first Kale Soup for the Soul in Chicago. As far as we knew, it was the first national group reading of its kind, featuring Portuguese American writers from Tennessee, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and California. Since then, many of us have participated in regional readings in San Francisco, Iowa, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, as part of the new wave of Portuguese American literature. The name Kale Soup for the Soul, inspires our hearts and our pens and makes us think about what it means to be part of the community, this family. Although our creative writing is about much more than food, the theme of Kale Soup is a touchstone, an entry point for connecting our words into a colorful patchwork quilt of literature. This evening, myself and 8 amazing and amazingly diverse writers, Amy Sarah Baptista, Brian Souza, Paula Neves, Lara Gallart, Carlo Matos, Nancy Vieira Couto, and Tony Roma, are going to read our poems, memoirs, and our stories, work that has been in some way inspired by our heritage. Whether it is a phrase, Curtadine, a place, Lisbon or the Azores, a title, Our Lady of the Artichokes, a food, linguiça, or a feeling, fado. The family tree of heritage is intact. The evening will be comprised of a series of readings with a brief intermission. Now I'm going to start with a few of my poems, and then I'm going to call Amy up and she's going to be our moderator. We had originally had Luis Goncalves, but he got caught in the snowstorm. So those of you that are friends with him, he's not going to be here tonight. I think like many others. Okay, my first poem is I Adore the Field. Many times I, by hand over hand, imagine shades of the finished trees, wrapped up for the soul both black and white, stepping over plants with their spotted, rooted feet, as if they were Helen of Troy. Oh, how many times not did I desire a garden of where to plant steel and other hard verses of the sky, filled with an immensely blue size that we only can have when we are far from the city. And also I see in the paintings of Antonio Palotto, oh, the space, the holes in the landscape, bare places where we can sing, to dance, to speak, when the world stops masking the face of modernistas, stops glorifying saints, rags, clothes, or threads. Futuristas, no, not that. I adore the field. This one's called Dish Towel. Clean like Spain, first now a city soiled, no water enough to keep for a whole resistance to war. How could mind-reaching exist with a long walk to ruins, castles, a family dries dishes together, stops, pauses, hidden to inhabit flowers of bumblebees, to mark up UNESCO city, a castle's charm, menial tasks, this woman's work, this drying, going through the wall of language. Dish towel, I ask you to stand, like Spanish, like Czech, like Russian, so soft and pliable, a dish towel meant for ordinary dishes, dried in any language, this cloth so soft and pliable, meant for. I came here because it reminded me of you. Sintra, more, I bought this because it reminded me. Being careful never helped anyone grow. Too many words, the best I can do. Time I remember in ordinary objects. My mind works outside myself. It's rough and more adaptable than the soul of objects. I hear the words so fine and delicate, so forgiving the soul of an ordinary object. Life lifted dish by water, what can a kitchen tell? While sweets still sweet, don't forget. I've been thinking further about some of them, especially the reason why, but I found it quite interesting outside the world. Spending time this week, seeing hints of that and not much more, at least so far. Those Azorian trees, originally from New Zealand, with their lovely puffs of red, are lined up along trees and streets named Alves or in parking lots. At Whole Foods, we got a sample of a dried sweet which included fava beans. An Asian bakery displayed pastéis de nata, which they call Portuguese custard tarts. Without a seasoned eye, you'd miss the signs. It's as if they are all in hiding still. I chowed down on Lisbon, walking through the streets of my apartment to the tune of O Misterioso. I'm doing my best so far. I've made caldo verde, a port wine sauce, and of course, the sweet pastéis. Sugary, sweet egg yolks, held in captivity inside a warm pastry shell. I've been thinking further about all of this, especially the reasons why. I'm going to close with a poem about bread. It's also about baking bread. Here lies the thing I most desire. Unnamed, as familiar as pau casado, with its 7 cups of white flour and variegated sea salt grayed on each crystal at the edge of my hand. Here lies the thing I most desire, the active dry yeast waiting in its plastic container in the fridge, inside the nest of what it can be. In my mind, the chemical reaction is exploding like love at age 12, when it is ripening and distant. I see sugar combining and bursting in a foamy cup of hot water mixed with orange juice, the milk of adolescence, waiting to reach room temperature. Here lies the thing I most desire, mixed with a spoon until consistent and predictable. A life you can shape and let rise and then pound down a second time until it is comfort soft and feels like old fabric. Here lies the thing I most desire. I let it rest and bake and turn golden until I tap it and hear a hollow sound, pau casado.